Hello, you're watching News9 Live. Jwala, the cheetah bought from Namibia, must be a distraught mother today. Of her 4 cubs, 3 have died at the Kuno National Park in Madhya Pradesh. Jwala became a mother in March and lost her 3 cubs due to extreme weather conditions and dehydration, as per the official version, and the forest officials also reiterated how mortality rates were high amongst cheetah cubs. The first cub died on 23rd of March, Tuesday, and the reason cited was immense weakness, and apparently wildlife doctors swung into action to ensure the survival of the remaining cubs. Unfortunately, monitoring teams noticed signs that the remaining 3 cubs were also not looking good, with temperatures hitting 46 to 47 degrees Celsius at the national park. Meanwhile, the remaining cub who survived is in Palpur Hospital under intensive treatment and monitoring. Forest officials have been in constant touch with Namibian and South African cheetah experts and doctors to ensure the survival of this little fellow, which is currently in apparently stable condition but undergoing intensive treatment. The forest officials said that all cheetah cubs were found to be weak, underweight and highly dehydrated. The cheetah cubs were about 8 weeks old. At this stage, cheetah cubs are generally inquisitive and constantly walk with the mother. The forest officials further added that the cubs started walking only about 8 to 10 days ago. According to cheetah experts, the survival rate of cheetah cubs in Africa is generally very low. Of course, the post-mortem proceedings are being done as per protocol. And the list of cheetahs dying on us continues. On 27th of March, a Namibian cheetah named Sasha died of kidney complications. In April, Uday followed, and in May, a female cheetah, Daksha, brought from South Africa, died following, and I quote, violent interaction, close court, with 2 male cheetahs, possibly, they say, during mating. Now I ask you, if Project Cheetah was launched with the intent of reviving the cheetah population in India, the death of these cheetahs actually defies all logic. Is it a project which was launched after nearly 7 decades, and many may say it needs more detailing and a reality check? Let's now listen to some voices and then I introduce you to the expert on this show.
आज भारत की धरती पर चीता लौट आए हैं और मैं ये भी कहूंगा कि इन चीतों के साथ ही भारत की प्रकृति प्रेमी चेतना भी पूरी शक्ति से जागृत हो उठी है। 1947 में जब देश में केवल आखिरी 3 चीते बचे थे, तो उनका भी साल के जंगलों में निष्ठुरता व गैर जिम्मेदारी से शिकार कर लिया गया। ये दुर्भाग्य रहा कि हमने 1952 में चीतों को देश से विलुप्त तो घोषित कर दिया, लेकिन उनके पुनर्वास के लिए दशकों तक कोई सार्थक प्रयास नहीं हुआ। आज आजादी के अमृतकाल में अब देश नई ऊर्जा के साथ चीतों के पुनर्वास के लिए जुट गया है। कुनो नेशनल पार्क में जब चीता फिर से दौड़ेंगे, तो यहां का ग्रासलैंड इकोसिस्टम फिर से रिस्टोर होगा, बायोडायवर्सिटी और बढ़ेगी। आने वाले दिनों में यहां इको टूरिज्म भी बढ़ेगा। आज ये चीते मेहमान बनकर आए हैं, इस क्षेत्र से अनजान है। कुनो नेशनल पार्क को ये चीते अपना घर बना पाए, इसके लिए हमें इन चीतों को भी कुछ महीने का समय देना होगा।
23 तारीख की ही बात है, जिस दिन सुबह एक बच्चा मरा मिला था। उसी दिन जब हमारी जो मॉनिटरिंग टीम और जो वेटनेरियंस की टीम है, उन्होंने मदर और बच्चों को निगरानी में रखा उन्होंने। लेकिन आफ्टरनून होते होते तक 2 बच्चे वो और कमज़ोर दिखे, जो ज़्यादा मूवमेंट उनका रिस्ट्रिक्ट हो गया, तो उनको उन्होंने ट्रीट करने की कोशिश की, बट वो ट्रीटमेंट के दौरान ही वो कोलैप्स हो गए। फिर चौथे बच्चे की वहाँ पे पास में ही उसकी आवाज़ सुनाई दी, तो उसको फिर रेस्क्यू करके हॉस्पिटल में लेके आए हैं, और उसकी भी हालत बहुत अच्छी नहीं थी, लेकिन ट्रीटमेंट के बाद वो अभी काफ़ी चुस्त दुरुस्त दिख रहा है। अंडरवेट है, कमज़ोर हैं और डिहाइड्रेटेड बच्चे। मादा जो जिसके बच्चे हैं ये, वो भी कैप्टिविटी बॉर्न है, वो कैप्टिविटी में पली बड़ी है वो, और पहली बार माँ बनी है, तो उसमें ये भी संभव है कि उसका जो दूध है वो प्रॉपर ना बनता हो। तो इस कारण से जो उनमें माल न्यूट्रिशन, जैसे इस एज में जो ये 8 सप्ताह के बच्चे हैं, इस समय उनका वज़न लगभग 2-2.5 किलो के आसपास होना चाहिए। अभी हम देख रहे हैं कि इनका वज़न जो है बिल्कुल 1.5 केजी के आसपास है, और एक्सेप्शनली हॉट दिन था वो 23 तारीख को, 47 डिग्री। अब छोटे से नन्ही सी जान, और वो इतनी मतलब लू के उसमें लू वर्चुअली चल रही है, इतनी गर्मी में डिहाइड्रेशन तो एक्सपेक्टेड था।
देखिए, जब बाहर से जानवर हम लोग लेके आए थे, तब उन्होंने कहा था कि 50% सर्वाइवल रेट है, यानी जितने आप ले जा रहे हो उसमें विभिन्न कारणों से 50% ही सर्वाइव करेंगे। लेकिन हमने 100 से ऊपर % सर्वाइवल दिया। इक्के दुक्के अगर ख़त्म हो गए तो 4 आए भी। उसको ये जो डेथ हुई है, ये जानवरों की आपसी फाइटिंग की डेथ, और ये सामान्य बात है, चाहे टाइगर हो, लेपर्ड हो, जितने भी जंगली जानवर हैं, इनमें आपसी जंग एरिया को लेकर के होती रहती है। अभी जो मोटी मोटी प्राथमिक जानकारी आई थी कि 2 चीते लड़े, एक जो उनमें फीमेल थी, 2 मेल थे, और उस कारण से वो इंजर्ड हुई। फाइनल पीएम रिपोर्ट क्या आएगी उसके बाद ही हम, लेकिन कोई इतना बड़ा कारण नहीं है कि समाचार का विषय नहीं है।
तो कब तक पीएम रिपोर्ट आप लोग
आ जाएगी। ये मैंने कहा ना कि मुझे लगता है कि इस विषय की बात करने का भी विषय नहीं है। ये सामान्य घटना है जो जानवरों में होती रहती है।
He says सामान्य घटना है, इट इज़ यूजुअल, और इसको इतनी बड़ी खबर बनाने की कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है. डू नॉट मेक इट इनटू सच ग्रेट न्यूज़. Let me now get you a perspective. Let's speak to somebody who is an expert. Valmik Thapar, naturalist, conservationist, author of several books, and someone who has been on several task forces and has actually studied these big cats for more than 3.5 or rather 4 decades. Valmik Thapar, welcome to the show. Extremely sad, the death of these cubs. But, you know, I want to ask you straight up that do you think Project Cheetah was, you know, there was not much detailing done to it, Valmik Thapar? I mean, it was launched, of course, with the intent of reviving the cheetah population. Where do you think we went wrong?
Basically, India is not the land of the cheetah. It's alien to the cheetah, whatever anyone might say. So as far as I'm concerned, this was an ill-advised, multi-million-dollar project. We should have never tried to reintroduce African cheetahs in India. We should have never tried this experiment because cheetahs need the best terrain. Cheetahs need excellent prey species in their tens of thousands and wide open spaces because they run very fast. They need flat ground, not stony soils, no nalas, no riverbeds, no hills. They need to find suitable habitats which cover all these things. And India is a very unfriendly terrain for cheetahs. So as far as I'm concerned, the project was ill-advised. Yes, for 300 years, India had thousands of cheetahs, but paltu cheetahs, जैसे पालतू कुत्ते होते हैं, cheetah, the rajas and the maharajas, the super elite, the rich people, they were imported from Africa. There are enough records to suggest that there was cheetahs with everyone who was wealthy. They were used for hunting. They were used after black buck, and they were used as pets, as loved pets, because they never bit the owner, they never killed the owner, unlike even pet dogs. So ye paltu the sab jagah and some were runaways. In my opinion, I've done a book called Exotic Aliens. Out of these thousands, many ran away and they formed little pockets of stray cheetahs all around. So the British hunted some, Maharajas hunted some, and the whole story of what happened in the last 100 years needs to be understood by the architects of, because if they realized that India was not the land of the cheetah, then we didn't need to reintroduce it. Particularly at this point, 2023, where we have a population of 1.4 billion, the cheetahs in Kuno Palpur, when they are released, are running to the border of Jhansi, then they have to be redarted, tranquilized and brought all the way back. So we need to rethink, to review, to sit with a think tank, to have opposing views, to get our younger scientists who have a different opinion to come and see whether this project is worth it, whether it should be modified, and how we can prevent more cheetahs from dying. We still have a summer to go through and a raging monsoon.
Right. Valmik Thapar, you know, of the 4 of Jwalas, 3 have already died, and the reasons that we've been reading across the press is that they were weak, they were malnourished, you know, the summer was scorching, 47 degrees in a space like Kuno National Park. Do you think all these reasons really wash? Do you think that it is quite possible? Because some experts have also said that it is not unusual for a young mother to lose her first litter, Valmik Thapar.
Unusual for a mother to lose her litter, but the chances of losing a litter are increased tremendously when the mother is in an enclosure. She's given birth in an enclosure, she's looked after the cubs, you've been able to hand feed them, you've been able to give them prey around them, you've stuffed the enclosures with food, you have veterinary specialists, you have state-of-the-art hospital equipment for the cheetahs, so you should be able to look after the cheetahs. In the wild, cheetah cubs have a high mortality because everything's after them. Hyenas get to them, leopards get to them, lions get to them, and they're killed. But that's not happening in these enclosures. I think that there will be big problems with the 4th cub. I think everyone knows about this Indian summer. Everyone knows that temperatures can climb in that edge of Madhya Pradesh or in Rajasthan to 50 degrees centigrade in the summer. And cheetahs are not used to this. If you look at the whole of Africa, cheetahs are living in a much temperature. They're not active at this temperature. Even human beings can't be active. Tigers go into sit in the water because they can't move too much in this heat. So I think temperature is not the issue when you have tigers in a controlled situation in a big enclosure where the mother has 3 cubs. I think the issue is that this is not the land of the cheetah, and cheetahs are susceptible to every infection and disease. They are all over the world, but free-ranging cheetahs in Africa fight off the diseases much better than captive animals.
You know, yeah, go on, Valmik, go on.
And we have to understand how cheetahs live in the wild. All the architects of our reintroduction of cheetah haven't looked at cheetahs in Africa for long periods of time. They've gone on short trips. You need a couple of years to understand cheetahs. You needed teams of people to go and look at how they behave, what they need. We don't look at the animals' needs. We look at our vanity projects, our pride projects. We don't go deeper. Unless we do our homework well, unless we go deeper into these issues, these projects really are redundant. They should be reviewed, modified, and if necessary, withdrawn. We require the money to save our very special wildlife, tigers, snow leopards, great Indian bustards. We have rich with species from one end of India to another. We require to use this money for purposes which are more important to our indigenous wildlife. We've got grounded in India on a cheetah reintroduction project. I'm questioning the very basis of it, saying that most of the cheetahs in India in the last 300 years, and you can go through every record you want, every description from every antiquarian book, were paltu cheetahs. They were imported, they were got into this country, they were looked after by kings and emperors who loved them because they could cuddle them, they could hunt with them, they could bring food. And the strays went into pockets of forest and got killed at some point. But this was not the land of the cheetah. And so understand where the land of the cheetah is. Go out there into the midst of Africa, go out and see the wide open spaces and see if there's a connect between India and its terrain and where the cheetahs are living today.
Right. Valmik Thapar, there's never been a very successful introduction, correct me if I'm wrong, reintroduction of cheetahs into an unfenced reserve, you know, when you look at recorded history. It has been attempted 15 times apparently in Africa, and it failed each time, you know. So, in the context of Kuno National Park also and the cheetahs that we have lost, this theory still works, does it, Valmiki Thapar?
I think you're going to lose cheetahs if you allow them to free range, but whenever they have free range, the cheetah is trying to find its habitat and going to the border of Jhansi or moving towards even the edge of Rajasthan, you've redarted the animal, brought it back into the enclosure. So I want to ask, there's no transparency, no journalists can visit Kuno Palpur, no one is going there and monitoring with the forest staff as to what's happening. How many cheetahs are in the enclosures? How many are sitting outside? Where are they sitting? Why don't you get a team of people, our young scientists, and take them out there and show them the reality? Why is no one being allowed to go there? Open it up. Let everyone see what's happening. It's been 9 months. So I can't answer your question. Have you been yourself to see this area? Have you monitored the cheetahs? Do you know how many are outside and how many are inside? I don't. If you do know, tell me.
Right. You know, Valmik, the other thing is that this project has been going on. I mean, you know, you say that this project needs more detailing, God lies in the detail, but this has been going on for more than what, 6 decades now? One read about it, then we waited, there were several reports done. Mr. Jairam Ramesh, I mean, I'm talking about the UPA government, you know, during that time. Jairam also visited, if I recall right, South Africa. You know, so what I want to understand is that today we are all mourning the deaths of these little fellas, as it were. One is in intensive care. So, I mean, there has not been enough and more heads who have put together their plans to say, this doesn't work, we need more. Like you said at the outset, Valmiki Thapar, India is not the land of cheetahs. So, somewhere do you think that all these experts who may have sat together have really not focused on what is the kernel of the problem?
I think all the experts, and I'm including Jairam in this because I was involved with him during that last tenure, he triggered the cheetah reintroduction of India. He triggered it. But before that, the Honorable Supreme Court had said no to cheetah introduction. Then they have their mind now and they're looking at the whole business of cheetah reintroduction. I think a lot of the experts needed to understand how free-ranging cheetahs are living in the wild in their source populations, wherever those source populations are, and they're mainly today in Africa. Don't look at South Africa. South Africa is full of fenced reserves. Pinda, which is one of the source populations for our cheetahs to come here from South Africa, is called a wildlife park, but it's completely fenced. I've spent 10 days in Pinda. I know how Pinda works. It's manipulated by human beings. It's not like releasing cheetahs into a free-ranging Kuno Palpur and watching them go in different directions. I mean, I've been telling my friends in Ranthambore, one day the cheetah will run 60 kilometers and it'll be in Ranthambore. Then it will face tigers. In Kuno Palpur, it faces leopards and hyenas and village dogs. It's a very fragile, beautiful, elegant animal. It requires speed to escape danger. That's why nature has given him a speed of 100 to 110 kilometers to get away. When is it going to run at that speed through forest, hill, nala, terrain to get away from any problem it faces besides the temperature, besides the terrain? After all, the 3 adult cheetahs who've died and the 3 cubs that have died basically in and around the enclosure. They haven't died trying to find their free-ranging spaces, unless you can correct me.
Right. Valmiki Thapar, I mean, what is the way ahead now, considering that we do have a project in place, we have remaining cheetahs there. This is, you know, the intent was to kind of see to it that they do not further, they are not eclipsed, as it were. But would you have any kind of suggestion as to how to perhaps salvage this, Valmiki Thapar?
Yeah, in my opinion, there is a whole bunch of government officers and government scientists on one side. They need to have a discussion with those who oppose this cheetah reintroduction or are critical of it. People like Dr. Dharmender Khandal, Dr. Ravi Chelam, Dr. Raghu Chundawat, Dr. Ullas Karan, Dr. Dhar, put them on the other side. All of them need to think out a plan where opposing views, like, as you know, I grew up debating in school. We need to have opposing views together to evolve a firm opinion on how we save the cheetahs that we have. And for that, you require all the different views of people, serious people, scientists, naturalists, on how we keep these cheetahs alive. There's no point in having everyone on one side and all the opposing views not consulted and not listened to. Put them all together in a room, they'll come out with a solution in the end, and these beautiful animals, which I love, which are graceful and elegant, can survive. Otherwise, we'll have more sad news coming in the weeks ahead. The summer has a long way to go and a raging monsoon to follow.
Thank you so much, Valmik Thapar, and I look forward to reading your book on the cheetahs. I heard that you are in the midst of it, and I think that, you know, it will give us even a better perspective of how India could be a land of everything, but perhaps not the cheetahs. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Today we are discussing and we are speaking about the death of the cheetahs. You know, 3 cubs died of Jwala, the mother, and there is one fella who's surviving. He is in hospital right now in intensive care. You just heard what Valmik Thapar spoke. He said at the outset, India is not the land of the cheetahs. We have to rethink Project Cheetah right from the storyboard stage. And now we have yet another guest. Let me introduce him to you, Joseph Hoover, former member, State Board for Wildlife, Karnataka. He's joining us. Joseph, welcome to the show. Joseph, your first opinion on Project Cheetah, and today we are mourning, you know, actually the death of several cheetahs. Of course, the adults died first, Daksha, Sasha, Uday, and now these 3 cubs, you know, in very, very quick succession. If you know, if you look at the time that is taken, you know, what everyone is thinking today, why bring them if they have to die, you know, in such heat? Let me tell you another little detail. Someone was speaking to me and said, we don't even get, you know, a breed of dogs which cannot withstand the harsh summer of certain climes in India. Why torture these beautiful animals? Your first opinion on this, Joseph Hoover.
Yeah, I would say this entire project, as Valmik Thapar said, is unwanted. It has been disastrous. Those who thought about it and brought it together, they need to again sit together, rethink whether they did the right thing or not. But as it is being made out, it is a disastrous project. We wasted money on it. 70 crore has been spent on this project. And these are not wild-caught cheetahs, as some of them make it out to be. These are all from the conservation reserves, as they call. These are all bred within the reserves and then sent to India from South Africa and Namibia. So their chances of survival was always going to be, you know, very, very little. All this put together. Now let's take this into perspective. Like, our government spends so much of money on this cheetah just for a ego ride. They wanted to show that we are capable of doing this. This is absolutely stupid foolishness on part of the government and the WII, the Wildlife Institute of India. All the experts involved in this, they made such a big mistake, and the money which could have been spent on saving our own tigers and leopards and our great Indian bustard has been just wasted. Look at the fate of our tigers in India. I mean, our salaries are not being paid to our forest staff who are guarding our tiger reserves. They have not been paid salaries for 4 months. And the Ministry of Environment and Forest has not paid its 50% of what is supposed to pay to the state government. Hardly 30% has been paid to all the tiger reserves. So look at the plight we are in. Here we have a ego ride. We're saying we have brought cheetahs, we're going to introduce them. When we knew it was going to be a disaster, yet we went ahead. And somewhere this has to stop. Somebody has to tell our leaders, please don't play around with wildlife. I mean, you don't bring cheetahs from Africa to kill them here. The best way forward to high sea right now is just ensure these remaining cheetahs are at least sent to zoos.
Yeah, but
their
you know,
survival is very
I totally agree that, you know, the remaining ones, we should try and see to it that they are safe. But Joseph, experts worked on it. Just now, you know, they formed a committee, and the committee is saying that, you know, we'll hold at least one meeting every month besides taking field visits. They will also, you know, deciding to open cheetah habitats for ecotourism. I mean, I do not know, I'm not an expert, but ecotourism right now, when we are mourning the deaths of so many cheetahs, seems a bit iffy. But you know, there were so many experts, Joseph. Not everyone can be wrong, right? I mean, when they were brought, the entire country was celebrating. Remember that site, you know, we thought, okay, at least India is moving towards this direction, because like I was telling Valmik, 7 decades, successive governments decided. Jairam, who still by activists like you is thought to be a very good environment minister, he also went. Of course, Valmik had other thoughts about it, but what I'm trying to say is that there were several experts who were involved in this. So, don't you think that we are rather being harsh on these people? It went wrong. Do you think it went wrong because of, you know, the problems that we did not envisage, or you think it went wrong because it was faulty right from the beginning, Joseph?
Yeah, I would say that all these experts who were from the Ministry of Environment, Forest, from the Wildlife Institute of India, and other conservationists involved in that, they really put their minds together, thought about it, but they didn't think about what could happen. They didn't even establish the time what could be the fate of these cheetahs in the long run. We are just talking about 9 months, and we are already losing cheetahs, right? I respect each one of them. They're hats off in their own fields, but these are not cheetah experts. These are experts who have only handled situations in India, being the leopard, the elephant, or the tiger. More importantly, the tiger. So they know more of it. To call them experts on cheetahs is not what we can accept, because they're definitely not experts as far as cheetahs is concerned. And now, whatever due respect to them, from what we gather from some of these people who are involved in the project, and one of them, Dr. Jala, was removed because he objected to certain things.
Right, right.
They were coming out and saying that this was all because of some kind of duress or kind of pressure from the Ministry of Environment and Forest to ensure that the project is taken forward, because the Prime Minister of the country had involved himself in that.
Right.
So they are coming out now after being hit badly. They are talking about it, saying that most of us didn't want it, but then we were put under pressure to see this is okay.
Right. I'm also joined by Ajay Suri now. I'll go back to Joseph after that. Ajay Suri is joining us on the phone line. He's a wildlife expert and also particularly an expert on tigers. Ajay Suri, if you can hear me, welcome to the show. Very, very unfortunate indeed. We are mourning the deaths of several cheetahs, particularly these cubs. That broke my heart. You know, one fella is, of course, I pray and hope that he comes back hale and hearty. But let me tell you something. You know, one of the very well-known experts on the project, Vincent van der Merwe, he said, look, do not overreact. It's not very unusual for young mothers, first-time mothers, young mothers to lose the litter. So, do you think we are somewhere overreacting? I know it's a very harsh word to use, Ajay Suri, my apologies. But, you know, let's do some kind of correction, or you think this project has been faulty from the word go, Ajay Suri?
No, not really. I don't believe in it, Sudha. Because see, this might be a hiccup. Of course, it's a cause for concern, but this does not in any way prove that the project has failed, or it should not have, taken place in the first place. The fact remains that in the wild, the mortality rate of big cats, and in particular their cubs, is very, very high. In fact, the survival rate of the cubs in particular is quite low. I have personally seen, tigresses losing all their 4 cubs, all their 3 cubs, leopards losing all their cubs. This is the way of the nature. And but now that what has really must have disconcerted a lot of people is that so many cheetahs dying in the last 2 months. That was not a foreseen development, and I think some kind of a course correction would be needed. See, very recently, last month itself, the Forest Department of Madhya Pradesh did write to NTCA, the National Tiger Conservation Authority, saying that, an alternate space, preferably in Rajasthan, must be looked where some of the cheetahs can be shifted, and this would be a very practical, very prudent step.
But Ajay Suri, sorry to interject, Ajay Suri, these little babies, they died because of extreme heat. They were also very weak, of course. They were dehydrated because of the heat. Now, Valmik Thapar, who's an expert, I'm not saying that you have to concur with him, but Valmik did say that, this kind of heat, इसमें तो इंसान के छक्के छूट जाते हैं. ये तो these are beautiful creatures. They are not used to it. That's why they are in Africa. They don't have a habitat to run. They need to run openly and freely. So Rajasthan, You know, Rajasthan, when it comes to heat, Ajay Suri, is something which could be worse than any other habitat. Don't you think?
I really don't know because this suggestion has come. This suggestion has come from the Forest Department of Madhya Pradesh, and these are like forest chaps, IFS officers. I mean, I'm in no way either to endorse them or to challenge them. So I don't have any particular, stand on this point because I don't think I'm equipped to say about it.
Right. You know, Ajay Suri,
yeah.
I wanted to ask you, the thing is that this project Cheetah, it was on the anvil for nearly 70 years. Then
Right.
it was brought by Prime Minister Modi and there was great celebration in this country. But you know, a lot of experts feel that enough and more research should have been done, because look at it today, you know, people who are animal lovers, people who are wildlife conservationists like yourself, experts, naturalists, they are all saying that it was kind of premature to do this. I mean, no one wants one living creature and as beautiful as the cheetah to die, no?
Well, there are different ways to look at it. See, there is no, when you're saying proper research, what do you mean proper research? When you say it should have been done for how long? I mean, is there an authority? Is there any authority which says that the research should have been done for say 6 months, 2 years? And this program, it's Cheetah. Of course, it's Prime Minister's baby, and I'm not an expert on cheetahs. I've done stuff on big cats. I've made films on them. I've seen, tigers and leopards from close quarters. I've never been to Africa. So whatever I know about cheetahs is what I've been told by other experts. But the fact remains that for hundreds of years, India was India was a place where cheetahs existed. They lived. So it's not that it's an alien creature as such.
No, but according to Valmik Thapar, ये पालतू चीते थे, sir, जो राजा महाराजाओं और elite के पास थे. Just hang on, Ajay ji, just a minute. Ajay ji, just a minute.
Yeah.
Joseph, would you like to kind of react to what Ajay Suri said? Ajay Suri says, listen, what do you mean by research? I mean, how many years research should go on? You want to, what he meant perhaps, and he should correct me, that you start a project, enough legwork was done. You heard him, no, Joseph Hoover. Would you like to react to what Ajay Suri said?
Yes, one is when you're talking about natural deaths happening in the forests. Yes, it does happen. Survival rates are always very less. Despite that, the tiger numbers have fractionally increased, leopards are increasing, all that is fine. But here, Ajay Suri needs to understand is that this is a protected habitat, and then people are watching over the animals. They're being fed within their enclosures. They've been darted and brought back whenever they've gone to villages, so they've been overseen. But what Ajay Suri, being a filmmaker and expert, he was referring to was in the wild, which happens. But he got confused in these two aspects. One where it's protected, where it's unprotected. There's protection in the forest, but it's a free-ranging kind of a situation. And when he talks about getting not, I mean, the research part and the kind of work needs to be done before pre-introduction, we need to understand none of our Indian the experts, so-called experts, had done any research work on the cheetahs. They relied on what was coming out of South Africa and Namibia. They went by what they said. And we also need to understand these are not wild caught cheetahs as such. These are all, as I said earlier, is from the conservation reserves,
Right.
where they are fed, they're looked after, somebody is monitoring them. Same situation came here. So the research part of it, none of us, I mean, even none of us are experts in this as far as cheetahs are concerned. And none of our WII, nor our MOEF or our IFS officers who can put their hands across their heart and say that they're experts, they knew what they were doing. They were just taking a chance. As a lot of people know, this was a Prime Minister's project. He wanted to show the world that he can reintroduce. He goes on certain trips. He does what he wants to do. Fair enough. But the entire project, from what we see, the way things are being played out now, we're losing cheetahs and we're going to lose many more.
Right. And you
The way
know,
forward
Joseph
is
and Ajay,
either
I'm also
release
going
cheetahs.
to play you a bite of the Minister of Environment for Madhya Pradesh, and I'm going to come back to you, you know, after that as to what he said. Just listen into this.
देखिए, जब बाहर से जानवर हम लोग लेके आए थे तब उन्होंने कहा था कि 50% सर्वाइवल रेट है, यानी जितने आप ले जा रहे हो उसमें विभिन्न कारणों से 50% ही सर्वाइव करेंगे, लेकिन हमने 100 से ऊपर % सर्वाइवल दिया। इक्के दुक्के अगर ख़त्म हो गए तो 4 आए भी। उसको ये जो डेथ हुई है ये जानवरों की आपसी फाइटिंग की डेथ, और ये सामान्य बात है, चाहे टाइगर हो, लेपर्ड हो, जितने भी जंगली जानवर हैं, इनमें आपसी जंग एरिया को लेकर के होती रहती है। अभी जो मोटी मोटी प्राथमिक जानकारी आई थी कि 2 चीते लड़े, एक जो उनमें फीमेल थी, 2 मेल थे, और उस कारण से वो इंजर्ड हुई। फाइनल पीएम रिपोर्ट क्या आएगी उसके बाद ही हम, लेकिन कोई इतना बड़ा कारण नहीं है कि समाचार का विषय नहीं है।
तो कब तक पीएम रिपोर्ट आप लोगों को आएगी?
आ जाएगी। ये मैंने कहा ना कि मुझे लगता है कि इस विषय की बात करने का भी विषय नहीं है, ये सामान्य घटना है जो जानवरों में होती रहती है।
I must congratulate the minister for being so cool, you know, and calm. Maybe that's what makes them politicians. Anyway, Ajay Suri, you just heard what the Environment Minister of Madhya Pradesh said कि इतनी बड़ी कोई खबर नहीं है और ये होता रहता है, you know. I'm reminded of a Shah Rukh Khan dialogue, but I won't say it on air. But anyway, Ajay Suri, I just want to ask you that, you know, because you've worked with tigers, I just want you to focus a little on habitats, you know, fencing, unfencing. According to experts, you know, every animal, particularly the wild cats, they need what is called conducive place to survive, even if they are in captivity, you know, not in their natural habitat. Speak a little about this. Do you think that this kind of a place, the Kuno National Park, which was apparently reserved for African lions initially to begin with, is it the ideal situation for these cheetahs?
Look, Sudha, I've got a completely different take on
Ji,
the matter.
ji.
This could be an ideal place because the topography is not something which a cheetah would find to be a very, very alien place, you know. But the point which I want to hammer now is that, you know, these deaths, according to me, do not mean the end of the trail for cheetah in India. See, I've been arguing that these deaths are, even though they may not be normal, but they are not shockingly abnormal either. Because like I said, I've seen several tigresses who have lost all their cubs, 3 cubs, 4 cubs, leopards who have lost all their cubs. These things happen in a forest, and there is, you know, so there is no way to doom, you know, the naysayers or people who were opposing this project from the very beginning. They of course would be dancing with joy. They would be saying, "Look, हमने पहले ही कहा था, ऐसा नहीं होगा." But let me tell you, this program would go on according to my information. See, the thing is that, you know, of course, the research element, you know, we could have added something more to it. For instance, let me tell you, in South Africa,
Right.
I believe there was, I mean, the experts, they believe that cheetahs in the national parks and reserves in South Africa, they cannot survive in an unfenced territory.
That's
it
true.
has to be fenced at the perimeter.
Yes.
And in South Africa, 15 such attempts were made, you know, to make cheetahs survive in unfenced territory.
So why do
And
it in
they did
India,
not.
sir, is what experts are asking. I'll come back to you, Ajay
Yeah,
Suri ji.
yeah, that should have been-
Joseph,
that-
you know what
see, that-
Ajay Suri just said. Would you like to, I mean, if that is the logic, which I started my conversation also with Valmik Thapar, then why do this? I know it's a great project to do. I have nothing against it. You know, you are all experts, but for me, you know, something which will create a space for cheetahs. What a beautiful creature, no, Joseph? I mean, I have been staring at those cheetahs for, but the point is that then why do it if it has failed already 15 times?
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, knowing what the history is, why do we indulge in this? I mean, like our experts, especially from the WII, that's the Wildlife Institute of India, uh, they so now they are also now talking about it, saying that yes, there should have been caution. We should have caution to push the thoughts against the process and all the stuff. But still, whatever happened, I mean, the process itself was driven by one person. He wanted it and he got it done. It didn't matter what others said, what was going to happen. It didn't matter to them. It was just a ego right, as we know. And people might say that we are naysayers. We are for wildlife. We want our forests to be conserved, our wildlife to be protected, so that the biodiversity is good. This is all we look at. We are nothing against any project at all, but it has to be done in a scientific manner. All parameters should be considered. First of all, they should have realized that from the beginning itself, there was a question of losing these cheetahs. They knew very well, but still they went ahead.
Right.
So when you talk about research, I don't.
Yeah, I've completely, done with the time. I wish I had more time, but let me thank all my guests. Joseph Hoover, thank you very much, and also thanks are due to Ajay Suri. I'm going to leave you with this image, because with hope and prayer in my heart and soul, that this little fellow who's there, he survives or she survives, and we see a majestic creature like you're about to see on your screens.